good morning or afternoon or whenever you're watching this video. Hello boys and girls, today we're going to be talking about a major tragedy, an unsolved mystery, something that happened in the past and we still don't know the truth over 100 years later. But first, we need to set up your table of contents in your notebook. Yay! You're going to add a section to your table of contents called World Affairs. If you are keeping up with me, this should be pages 6 through 8 in your social studies notebook. Pause the screen if you need to so that you can copy this information down. Next, jumping to page 6 in your notebook, you're going to set up 3 topics in the World Affairs section. Those topics are called Cuba, William McKinley, and the USS Maine. Next, on page 7, you'll set up 2 sections called Spanish-American War and a 3rd section called Teddy Roosevelt. It should look like this. The last section, which will be on page 8 of your notebook, is called Panama Canal. By the end of this video, you will be able to explain how William McKinley and Theodore Roosevelt expanded America's role in the world, including the Spanish-American War and the building of the Panama Canal. Now let's dive into world affairs. Hit my intro. Oh, I don't have one yet. Well, we'll start off with Cuba, just off the coast of the U.S. state of Florida. At the end of the 19th century, there was a lot of unrest in Cuba. Cuba was under the rule of Spain and wanted to be free. In 1895, Cubans rebelled against Spanish rule. Americans supported Cubans because some American businesses had money invested in Cuban sugar. So, if the Cubans gained their freedom from Spain, then the Americans wouldn't have to spend so much money on taxes that Spain was charging. American newspapers published exaggerated stories about the way that Spain treated the Cuban people. This was called yellow journalism, and it was used to gain sympathy for the Cuban rebels. This is where you should pause the video to draw in your notebook and jot down a summary of what you now know about Cuba. While all of this was happening here in the US, we had a president by the name of William McKinley. This is the next section in your notebook. President William McKinley had served in the Civil War, so he knew how ugly and horrific war could be. He knew the horrors of war. He didn't want America to get involved in another war again. William McKinley came up with a plan to send the USS Maine, which was a battleship, to Cuba. He thought the ship's presence in the Havana, Cuba harbor would calm the situation. So it's basically like when students in a class are acting up with a substitute and the substitute calls the principal or the assistant principal and they stand there looking all tough and everybody starts doing the right thing. In this case, President McKinley sent in a big ship to the coast of Cuba, and because they were afraid of the power of the U.S. military, things started to calm down. The plan worked for several weeks. Then, on February 15, 1898, boom! The USS Maine exploded. 266 men died in the blast. That is the big unsolved mystery. The cause of the explosion was not obvious. Even wounded soldiers who were on the ship could not explain what caused the blast. Your next section is called Spanish-American War. U.S. newspapers picked up the story and blamed Spain for the explosion. Spain insisted. They were like, we didn't do it. We didn't do it. They insisted that the explosion came from inside of the ship. Americans read the newspaper stories and demanded that Spain be punished. Remember the Maine was a popular slogan across the country. On April 25th, 1898, President McKinley asked Congress to send troops to Cuba, and America officially declared war on Spain. So that's the information for part 1 that says Spanish-American War. Here is part 2 of Spanish-American War. By August, the war was over and the Treaty of Paris, 1898, was signed in December. As a result of this treaty, Spain granted Cuba its freedom and the United States gained Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. So the United States won the war and forced Spain to not only give up Cuba, but 3 other places as well. The United States emerged as a major world power after the victory over Spain. In other words, people all around the world began to see the United States as a very strong country with a very strong military. The next section is about Teddy Roosevelt. After gaining several new territories in the Spanish-American War, America needed a way to get from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean without having to go all the way around South America. President Theodore Roosevelt believed that the solution was to build a canal in Central America. He believed that this would help America's economic or trading and military or navy interests. In 1882, a French company had started to build a canal in Central America. They soon stopped the project after yellow fever and malaria, which is carried by mosquitoes, killed many of the workers. The United States bought the 10-mile stretch of land from Panama and took over construction of the canal in 1904. Doctors taught the workers how to combat the diseases. Workers drained swamps, covered supplies with tents, and put in new sewers to stop the spread of diseases. When the Panama Canal opened in 1914, it was a huge shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Americans now had access to world trade. The U.S. Navy could defend the country's interests all across the globe. The first ship passed through the Panama Canal in 1914. Next, we will talk about immigration into the United States that took place during this time, but we'll save that for another video. Now, make sure that each section of your notebook is filled in with your visual notes or your pictures, your illustrations, and that your summary is written. Please, please, please feel free to send me a photo of your work on Class Dojo. I'd love to see it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy your day. Have a fantastic rest of the day, and I will see you later. Peace.